Welcome back. Welcome back. Hope everybody has had a great man. When did we stop? Summer, start of fall.
Yeah.
But again, welcome back to the Rad Podcast, where we are definitely making sure that racism is not accepted. We're glad to have you here. I am thrilled to be back for our third season of this, right?
Yeah,
Third
man.
season.
Season 3. Can you believe it?
Yeah. You know, kind of, it's season three, but we both know it's season five. Nevertheless, Larry Jefferson, part of this awesome dynamic team, and glad to be here today.
Yeah, man. Dantrayl Smith, it's good to see you, man. You know, when I saw you for an event you had last week, it was first time seeing you in months. And so
Had been.
yeah, so it was just good to fellowship with you, bro. And I'm glad to be doing this podcast with you again. And
Absolutely.
season 3, man, I can't believe that we are continuously moving um in a real great direction, man. I'm just excited about season 3. It's going to be really good.
I can concur with that. I'm excited about the episodes, the panelists that we're having, and also just the opportunity to share the information that we have with our guests. Should be some great episodes, some very good conversations, and I just think our audience really will be able to relate to what we're going to talk about this season.
Yeah. I think in continuation with that, man, when it came to, last season at the end, we really listened to a lot of our listeners' feedback, right? And so this season, they're going to get a treat because we're going to do mini series. And so in those mini series, we'll have 3 episodes as it relates to an overall topic. Um, some that we'll get a chance to roll out here in the next few minutes and discuss with our listeners. But I think I think our listeners are really going to get our true authentic selves this season. Like I feel like the first 2 seasons, like, and maybe it's just my opinion, man. I feel like the first 2 seasons, we were still trying to get everything, but now I feel like we're in a groove where we can really talk about some of the topics and issues that we have been wanting to discuss, never had the opportunity to discuss, and we really get to, put in our own perspectives. And so I'm excited about the 3 mini series that we are going to be rolling out this fall.
I agree with you. The first couple of seasons were kind of like my dance moves for me, which is pretty stiff. I can do the robot good, but outside of that, I'm not a dancer. And I think it was more so you don't want to scare people away, but at the same time, people want you to be real, and we ask people to be real when they are panelists on here. Therefore, this mini series that we're planning, I believe, will really allow individuals to see some of us that don't really know uh, outside of family members, but I think it would be great. And not only that, I think the learning outcomes for our episodes are going to be superb.
Yeah. Um, in addition to that, we got a sponsor, so our first sponsor that we have. And so what we decided to do for all our listeners that are interested in potentially being a sponsor, a business that wants to be a sponsor, we've kind of lended our sponsors to sponsor our one mini series out of the 3 series that we have. And so I think the name, let me make sure I get the name of the company correct, because I don't want to misquote them. But the
No,
company that's, you said what?
I said, no, you don't want to do that.
Right. So the company that's going to be sponsoring our body, our autonomy series is going to be Buy Me Too. And so they'll be sponsoring our last three series as we talk about the body. You know, we talk about tattoos, talk about vaccinations and so forth and so on. But you know, I think we can go ahead and roll out, man, and just we can talk through the different episodes that we got coming up, so that way everybody can know, um, who we got for the fall.
Okay. Our next Monday, October 10th, we get to talk about the wellness and the mental part, and it's called "Get the Fuck Out of My Head." And we often hear about people, especially in our community, being very reluctant to go to therapists, to see therapists. Oh, I can do this. And that famous statement that I'm sure a lot of you heard, what goes on in this house stays in this house. Something that has handicapped the Black community for so long. But what's crazy is I was talking to some students, actually a young student today. She's Indian, and they have the same issue too. But I think this episode will really touch base, especially for our baby boomers and then our generation and then your generation, because yours is a little bit younger than mine, but being able to
Facts.
understand whatever, being able to understand the mental capacity and the way mental health plays a role on us.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's definitely a topic that our listeners really wanted to have back, in terms of really focusing on the health. And so that series consists of three episodes. One Larry's already shared. The next one after that is called No Doctor Visit, where we get to have the conversation in terms of reason why individuals aren't going to the doctor, right? Like, we all get sick sometimes, and then we're like, oh, I'll just, nurse this remedy because my grandmother said that I'll sit up here and take what is that called? 3-6 or Father
Man,
John's or you know what I mean? So we have individuals that do that, but really kind of digging in deep and trying to understand where does that come from, and then how do we correct that mindset. And so that's going to be the second part of that series. And the third one, I gotta say, I don't know about you, bro, but I'm excited about this episode, and
I
and
am.
and and it's going to be let's talk about sex. And so I know a lot of people are like, what? We're going to talk about that? Like, I feel like we as guys, we talk about it right amongst our guy circles. And I think, ladies talk about it amongst in their lady circles, but really to have a healthy conversation around sex and how that really relates to our mental health and connected to
Right.
our bodies. And so um yeah, I can't wait for that episode, man.
I'm super geeked about it because it's something that a conversation that a lot of people avoid, and especially in a Black household. Like my dad didn't teach me about the birds and bees. It was kind of just me kind of learning and
Right.
having the friends that I had, and we kind of educating one another. But I believe this as adults, some things that we don't talk about is the sexual health and what happens when you got to kick in those blue pills. So, or yeah, I mean, when you can't perform to the occasion, how does that impact your relationship? So, I think we're going to
Yeah.
have a great conversation.
Yeah, and the person that we're bringing in, we won't give away her name, but I think it really is a testament of how our podcast has really grown. The ability to be able to bring in my opinion, kind of some very high name people to come in and have these conversations with us. And so I'm excited about the lady that we're bringing in and the male guest to discuss it. And yeah, man, like I said, it's definitely a topic that's kind of taboo, and we talk about it in smaller circles, but when it comes to really having some healthy dialogue and conversations around it, it's important. So I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely. Then we jump into our second mini series, and our focus is education. A lot of people had questions about education in our prior season. What do? We listened to our audience. We brought that back. So our first one, we talk about reforming the education system, and it talks about slavery and involuntary relocation. Um,
Woo! Man,
should be a powerful episode.
man, yeah, bro. Like that's going to be good. For those of you all that know, we'll discuss it a little bit, of course, once that session takes place. But lawmakers are putting in place where they're talking about trying to remove the term slavery, right? And then calling this involuntary relocation. And so, what does that really mean? And why are we having to really get away from what really happened? Because we know
Right.
exactly what it was, and so that conversation, I think, is really going to, in my opinion, transform a lot of individuals' minds around what that is and what it can be, and then just the lasting effects that it can have for those individuals that really study this type of stuff. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. I guess that's a powerful one. And the lady we got, the young man we got for that episode. Ooh.
Should be
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know
It's gonna
about
be
him.
powerful.
I don't know about calling him no young man though.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you, but
But hey, he's super smart. So super smart. But I think the next episode, as we talk about school shootings, is going to be very tense. Um, being that I was part of a lockdown where a student had been shot 5 minutes away from our campus, and they did not know where the killer, well, the shooter was, because he didn't kill him, he just shot him. But to go into a lockdown mode and experience that for 4 hours, I can only imagine what it feels like to be in the actual school and how terrifying that can be. But I think having these conversations, especially with some of the parents who have that fear when they send their children to school every day, it's good for them to be present, but it's also good that we have educational leaders present as well to talk about some of the things that they're doing to avoid this and some of the precautions that are being taken to make sure that their schools remain safe.
right. And we all know, right? We all know that you know things like this, unfortunately, they do happen, right? And so, no matter how many walls, barriers, things we put in place, sometimes people just find a way to create this act of violence. But nevertheless, I think it's a great topic of conversation. Like you said, not only for parents to really kind of ease some of the tension and um, frustration on their part, but then also, like you said, for us to really strategize, because maybe there's an idea or suggestion that they haven't even thought about. And so the individuals that'll be coming on will kind of be able to hear some of our feedback from not only ours from us, but from our listeners to say, hey, what do you think about this? Has your team ever looked into this? Or, maybe based upon what we've read and what we've seen on the news, maybe we could have responded this type of way. And so I think that's going to just spark some really great conversation that a lot of people are going to really enjoy. That is going to, in my opinion, really expand the minds of our listeners.
I think another thing that will come out of that conversation too is something that you're seeing here lately on campuses where they're having these massive brawls, and students are in there fighting teachers, they're in there fighting each other, they're fighting police. what is that leading to? What all is happening after that? And what are we doing to bring some form of community back to those school districts and have a conversation like what's going on? I think I think that will be also something good that can come up out of that conversation as well.
Yeah, I agree. And then also, just in the next episode, but kind of go piggybacking off of that is what can colleges do, right? Like what can higher education do to kind of assist in that process? Is
Mhm.
it some additional funding? I mean, of course, we all need money, but is there a certain project or certain thing that we can do on our part to kind of move the needle forward? And so I'm interested to um, explore the minds of the individuals that we're gonna bring on for that episode. So it's gonna be dope.
Yeah, yeah. And the last one, which I think will probably be my favorite, is to talk about the body autonomy. And
Mm.
we jump off with that. We jump straight into what has caused a major division in our country. And I have two friends that battle almost daily talking about vaccinations and those who are not. And just the I call it the great divide because you have so many people wear a mask, don't wear a mask. If you wear a mask, you look crazy. Even though I do look at people differently that are in their cars by themselves with masks on. I don't know about that.
Right,
But
right, right, right.
the pandemic really caused a great division. I don't know if people just had so much time on their hands, but did you get your shot? Did you get your booster shots? And though we can't ask that at work, I mean, it's constantly, you can't even cough without somebody looking at you like, let me see your booster records.
Right.
And again, it just caused a lot of discomfort everywhere you go. So that conversation should be super fire.
Yeah, and I think, expanding it beyond COVID. Of course, COVID is kind of the one that is on everybody's hearts and minds, but there's other vaccinations that are out there that individuals to this very day still haven't gotten. And to kind of really unpack the reasons why, because I'm a firm believer that you know sometimes, man, like vaccinations, they do work. you know they,
Sometimes.
they they exactly, sometimes they do work. And but it's the matter of being able to understand those facts, right? And so what are the
Right.
questions that we need to be asking our pharmacists? What are the questions that we need to be asking our government? And so being able to unpack what those strategic conversations look like amongst ourselves, amongst our listeners, man, I think is going to be really good because, like you said, it's a topic that a lot of people in this day and age, they feel like they're experts in.
Everybody is. If you got an Instagram page, you got a TikTok page, you going on
Right.
everybody and ain't been in nobody's
Nobody.
hospital. Nobody's, yeah.
Right.
Should be amazing.
Yeah.
What we have after that one? Oh, another hot topic.
Yeah. Yeah. So next one, we're talking about abortion laws. And so, of course, the post Roe versus Wade era that's beginning. And so really trying to understand and unpack what things have transpired since the new legislation that's gone to pass. But I think really hearing from our panelists along with our listeners, I really want to hear from our listeners. I mean, I want to hear from them in every episode, but really just kind of get their thoughts about how this is impacting them or their understanding. And I think it's definitely a huge topic that affects a lot of us, particularly in our own communities, that we don't really get a chance to discuss, or if we do discuss, we kind of try to push it under the rug
Yeah.
because we don't want anybody to know that it happened to us, right?
Right.
And so that's once again, man, another powerful conversation that I think our listeners are going to really enjoy.
Absolutely. And then last episode we'll talk about tattoos, piercings, and hair. And you can see I'm all tatted up. Gonna get more too, but times have changed.
Yeah.
And it's funny. Everybody has like the bull nose ring now. A lot of people are tatted up. Hair colors are different, and what used to be quote unquote office standards has drastically changed.
Yeah. Yeah, it has. But then you have those small circles, right? Where certain individuals, you come in dressed or looking a certain way, we'll interview you, but you're not
You
gonna
ain't
get the
getting the
job.
job, right?
You know what I mean? And so it's how do you deal with that? Because you and I both have we've had beards, we've had, different hairstyles, and I don't have any tattoos, but people look at us funny, right? And so we have to sometimes adjust. And it's like, but why should we have to adjust to that? And the individuals that we have coming on have no shame in representing who they are,
Right.
which is, I think, going to be extremely powerful conversation for us to have, but then also, our listeners to kind of gauge a different perspective, a different side, and what's starting to become a new trend, right? Like a new trend to where you don't have to, wearing the suit, the tie, all of that. Like that's not what's in right now. I mean, it's a total different look when we talk about professionalism for men and for women.
I
And
can't tell you the
so,
last time. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead, bro.
I can't tell you the last time I wore a tie to work. I may wear a dress shirt and a sports coat, but I can't tell you the last time I wore a tie.
And so, you and I had this conversation early on. Is that I don't like wearing the suit jacket, man. I mean, I wear it, because I mostly like to wear a vest and a tie. Like that's me. Like when I go to conferences or I go on trips and stuff like that, like I like wearing the vest. Like that's me all day. That's what I'm comfortable in. It expresses me. And sometimes I even throw a hat in on it, and people be like, "Oh wow, blah blah." It's like it's my personality. It fits me.
Right. But I think as long as it doesn't prevent you from doing your work effectively, I had someone come in for an interview, and the individual walked in, her hair was pink. And I'm not gonna lie, for 1 second, I was like, oh wow, this is different. She wore a t-shirt, some jeans, and pink hair. Killed the interview.
Mm,
I mean, so what do you do? I was like, shoes, bring her on.
right. Bring her on. And
But I,
and it's crazy. It's crazy, right? Though you see the skill set, you see the talent in the individual, but the higher ups, right? Like they just see the outside, and so
right.
they're like, oh well, we can't bring that person on because what are people going to think about, the office and all of that? Well, it's like, well, if we're producing quality work and we are meeting multiple guidelines and standards, and the individual is not causing any interruptions, problems, or situations that disrupt whatever environment they're in,
What's the problem?
what's the problem?
Yeah. So
So,
should be should be a fire. I know one person on there definitely gonna be fired.
yeah, yeah, and I think that's the beauty, man, of this podcast and where we're going. And I think that's the thing that really excites me, man. I'm excited to have this journey with you. Is just,
Absolutely.
I think in the previous series, we've kind of reached out to our networks, our personal networks, which are vast,
Mhm.
And I thank for everybody that has came on to the previous shows, because they are the ones that have really laid down the solid foundation. But now, just kind of reaching out to people we don't know. You know, you and I have kind of just gone online, Google certain topics,
Right.
right, and then we just kind of start researching people, and I was shocked. I got to say this. I literally was shocked at the response that we receive from people who we didn't know. Um, that one person actually heard about us and was glad to come onto the show, but um, for those individuals that had not heard about us and they were like, "Oh yeah, it's that's a definitely a great topic. I want to share my wisdom with the audience." And that for me was like, whoa. You know what I mean? Like my mind was like, we're finally arrived to what I think you and I really envision this podcast to be. And I think that's the reason why I'm excited about this series, and a lot of our listeners will too.
I think I was the moment that someone came to me and was like, "Hey, I seen y'all on the front page of the website," and I said, "Saw who on the front page of the website? Like
Right.
you in Dantrayl? Like really?" That there said, "Okay, now God is speaking, and I'll let Him take me and Dantrayl and I to wherever the heights He wants us to grow." Um, so I echo the same thing you say. I'm excited to share this journey. I'm sure there'll be a lot of great laughs, but there'll be a lot of knowledge as well that we obtain from this. And who's to say that we won't get even, bigger people, should I say, or more
Right.
nationally known individuals than we already have coming on for this season.
Yep. I was trying to upload the flyer, bro. You think you can do it for next week? I was trying to showcase it, but for some reason it's not popping up.
Let me see what I can do.
Oh, let me see. Because it says it's in my, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Oh, here we go. I think I got it. Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah. Being that you're the administrator, it doesn't allow me to show that. At least I
Okay.
don't see it. I don't see it as a. Oh wait, maybe it will.
It's all good. We gotta fix the link anyway. So, well, yeah, man, I got a quote for us as always, and
Shoot
so
it out.
this quote comes from Jenny Larson, and so she says, "Our playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so others won't feel insecure around us. As we become liberated from our fears, we are free to experience life as it is meant to be. If we are to be free from oppression and control, we must take charge of our own lives and in our magnificence, stand up and speak our truth. In our doing, we let our light shine."
Love it. Who
Yeah.
was that by?
Jenny Larson, from her by I think a book, Brainwash to Hogwash: Escaping and Exposing uh, yeah, Escaping and
I got
Exposing.
that book. I knew that sounded familiar. I have that book. I was like, why does that sound so familiar? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 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 No, it's a good book though.
Yeah, and man, just her works, and like I said, man, I'm super excited about this season, man. I feel like we have really done some true research and digging, and I think our listeners are going to be really impressed by the individuals we're bringing on, but then also the conversation and dialogue that's going to take place from us. So,
Sounds good. Well, I hope everyone is available next Monday at 5 p.m. We look forward to seeing you there. If you don't have anything else, Dantrayl, we'll see y'all next week.
all right.